In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds are so alien they break every rule we thought we knew. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. This time, the wormhole drops Steve and Siebel at the smallest star they have ever encountered. A faint red dwarf wrapped in a thick, mysterious ring of clouds. Thousands of moons orbit within and around that ring like beads on a cosmic necklace. Curiosity pulls them in. They take the lander straight into the cloud layer. And what they find defies belief. Inside the ring lies a single enormous ocean. One continuous body of water that completely encircles the star. A ring-shaped sea lit by eternal red twilight. Millions of islands dot this impossible ocean. They land on a small one first. The surface feels strange, covered in overlapping scales with translucent, glowing plants sprouting between them. There is no soil, no rocks, just scales. Before they realize the danger, the island begins to sink. They sprint back to the lander and lift off just in time. From above, the horrifying truth becomes clear. It wasn't an island at all. It was the back of a living leviathan, a colossal sea monster, a giant fish that simply submerged and then rose again. Shaken but undeterred, they locate a much larger island and set down to collect samples. The ecosystem here is breathtaking and brutal. They watch an elephant-like herbivore grazing peacefully. Then the sky darkens with what look like flying leeches, translucent wings shimmering as thousands descend. The swarm lands on the massive herbivore and drains it completely dry in minutes. Then the leeches turn on the explorers. Steve and Siebel fight desperately, switching their pulse rifles to torch mode, sweeping flames across the sky as the blood-sucking swarm closes in. They barely escape with their samples and their lives. Back at the station, General Rice is unusually excited by their report. His eyes light up at the mention of the giant leviathans and the rich, untamed ecosystem. Siebel reads him instantly. Later, she tells Steve the truth. Reyes isn't thinking science, he's thinking profit and power. He wants to turn this ringed ocean world into an exclusive game resort for the ultra-rich to hunt leviathans, and a brutal training ground for elite space soldiers. Siebel doesn't guess these things, she senses them. Her intuition is almost supernatural. She can read people's true intentions with eerie accuracy. Steve is stunned by what she reveals. Both explorers are deeply unhappy. They risk their lives to explore a strange new world, only to realize humanity may once again choose exploitation over wonder. Another beautiful, dangerous planet added to the list. Another discovery that might be ruined before it can truly be understood. Will Steve and Siebel be forced to watch as this ringed paradise is turned into a hunting ground? Or will they find the courage to push back against their own command? Some planets test your survival, others test your conscience. What do you think should happen to a world like this? Should it be protected or opened for hunting and training? Tell me in the comments if you want to know what happens next with the assist eggs and whether Steve and Siebel can stop their superiors' dark plans. Subscribe and hit the bell. The journey across these strange planets is far from over. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world. In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds should not exist, yet they do. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. This time, the wormhole hurls Siebel and Steve toward the violent center of the galaxy, where they discover Malmider, a chaotic planet trapped in the gravitational grip of several black holes. Its gravity is irregular and deadly, shifting without warning. Nothing on this world can stay still for long, or it will be crushed. The plants themselves have evolved to walk on massive root legs, constantly migrating across the surface. All animals can fly, and the planet is unbelievably rich in rare, valuable minerals. Sibylle and Steve soon encounter Daegu, a dark-skinned, hairless, silicon-based alien. At first, Daegu is warm and welcoming. He takes them to his home in Malmeder, a breathtaking flying city built on an enormous metallic disc suspended high in the air. The city is a marvel of engineering. Taller, tightly packed buildings rise in the center of the disc, while smaller circular structures line the outer rims. Nearly all the buildings are a striking yellow color with rounded metallic designs. The entire massive platform rotates so slowly that you barely notice its movement. Narrow streets wind between the structures, where only a few residents walk alongside silent robots. Daegu offers them shelter and introduces them to his round robotic companion, Sirok. For a short while, everything feels peaceful as they explore this strange, floating metropolis. Then, Daegu's attitude suddenly turns ice-cold and hostile when the explorers told him they want to leave. He took them down to the surface, and without warning, he commands predatory ivy, a fast-moving, carnivorous plant with whipping, spiky vines, to hunt them down. As Sibylle and Steve run for their lives, the walking ivy surges after them, while Daegu and his robot Sirok join the chase. The planet's chaotic gravity shifts beneath their feet, making every step treacherous. In a desperate sprint through the unpredictable landscape, they barely reach their lander and blast off under heavy pursuit, escaping with their lives. Back at the station, General Race reviews their report and immediately labels Malmeder a hostile planet. Yet his eyes light up at the mention of its vast mineral wealth. Malmeder remains one of the most extreme and dangerous worlds they have ever visited. A place at the galactic core where trees walk, animals fly, gravity is a constant killer, and even friendly hosts can turn murderous in seconds. Its magnificent floating cities only make the danger more deceptive. Will the agency attempt to exploit this mineral-rich world despite its lethal nature? Or will Malmeder be left alone? What would you do if you landed on a planet where the very ground can betray you, the plants chase you, and your host suddenly tries to kill you? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want to know what happens next with Sibylle, Steve, and the last eggs of the assist, subscribe and hit the bell. The universe keeps getting stranger and deadlier. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world. In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds carry the ghosts of civilizations long wiped out by forces beyond their control. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. This time, the wormhole ejects Sibylle and Steve onto a silent, abandoned planet, bathed in the harsh light of an unstable red giant star. From orbit, it looked empty. On the surface, it became something far more haunting. They land in the middle of a vast, eerie city. Every structure is built on enormous towers, the height of skyscrapers. Hanging from these colossal pillars like strange metallic fruit are thousands of tiny apartment pods, each one no larger than a small car. The doorways, windows, and furniture inside are all miniature, clearly designed for beings much smaller than humans. Scattered artifacts tell the story. Discarded exoskeletons, fragments of hardened wings, and long, powerful hind legs built for jumping. The former inhabitants were insectoids, hopper-like creatures that once leaped between these hanging homes in great bounds. Sibylle and Steve explore the empty towers in uneasy silence. The city feels frozen in time, as if its people vanished overnight. Then the star rises higher. The radiation levels spike dramatically. Their nano-suits begin to overheat and glow with warnings. The heat becomes unbearable. Even their advanced suits can't protect them for long. They are forced to flee underground, discovering an extensive tunnel network beneath the city. These tunnels were not built by the insectoids. The architecture is completely different, rounded, soft-edged, and burrowed with care. They belonged to an earlier civilization, gentle, bunny-like aliens who once called this world home. Evidence suggests the insectoid hoppers arrived as invaders, wiped out the original inhabitants, and claimed the surface for themselves. Now both civilizations are gone. As Sibyl and Steve push deeper into the dimly lit tunnels, a sudden collapse separates them. Steve falls through a crumbling floor into a deep pit, becoming trapped on a narrow ledge above a seemingly bottomless drop. He shouts for help, but his voice echoes uselessly into the darkness. Sibyl finds him anyway. When Steve asks how she knew exactly where he was, Sibyl finally reveals a secret she's been carrying since their earlier missions. Ever since they encountered the Augard, she has developed the ability to read minds. She can hear thoughts as clearly as spoken words. That was how she located him, and that was also why she shot him back on Farda. She had read his mind and realized he was never going to leave that paradise willingly. She had no choice if she wanted to save him. Steve is stunned. He asks her what General Race truly thinks of him. Sibyl hesitates, then claims she cannot read Rice's mind, that his thoughts are blocked by an unusually thick mental wall. But she is lying. Before they can process this revelation, an urgent message crackles through from their mothership. The red giant star is becoming unstable. It is swelling rapidly and on the verge of exploding. They have minutes to escape. Sibyl pulls Steve out of the pit and they race through the tunnels, hearts pounding as the ground begins to shake. They burst back onto the surface just as the radiation spikes to lethal levels. Sprinting across the abandoned city, they reach their lander and blast off into orbit, moments before the star begins its catastrophic expansion. But their relief is short-lived. In orbit, their lander is suddenly caught in a powerful tractor beam. They are pulled toward a massive, ornate vessel belonging to Merga, a self-proclaimed ruler of the universe. Merga is a Teflon, an alien with shimmering golden skin, completely hairless, a wide, bulbous head, and a sharply pointed chin. He is paranoid, theatrical, and clearly unstable. Merga greets them with grand gestures, claiming he will escort them safely. But Sibyl reads his mind instantly. He has no intention of helping them. He plans to lure them to his home planet under false pretenses, then sell them to wealthy alien collectors as exotic specimens. Using the element of surprise from her mind reading, Sibyl and Steve execute a daring escape. They override the tractor beam controls, break free from Merga's ship, and barely avoid his pursuing fighters as they race back toward the wormhole. Behind them, the red giant finally detonates in a brilliant flash, consuming the entire planet of the Hoppers in stellar fire. Another world erased from existence. Back at the station, General Rice receives yet another chaotic report, another narrow escape, another lost world, and growing questions about what Sibyl is truly capable of. The planet of the Hoppers now joins the list of strange and tragic discoveries. A world where insect invaders replaced gentle burrowers, only to be driven away by their own sun's fury. A place where tiny hanging cities tell stories of lives lived in great leaps, now reduced to silent ruins. Some planets are abandoned by choice, others are abandoned by catastrophe. What would you do if you could suddenly read minds during dangerous missions across the stars? And how would you feel knowing your own commander might be hiding dark thoughts you cannot reach? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to know what happens next with Sibyl, Steve, the assist eggs, and the growing tension with General Rice, subscribe and hit the bell. The strangest planets are still out there, and some of them are running out of time. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world. In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds look like paradise until they reveal their teeth. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. After the intoxicating trap of Farda, the wormhole delivers Steve and Sibyl to a new world orbiting a massive red giant. The star fills half the sky like a molten eye, bathing everything in slow, heavy crimson light. Below them stretches an endless sea of softness. a surreal landscape of cottony grass, velvety trees, and feathery fronds in shimmering gold and pale blue. The air is breathable, the temperature mild. It feels like walking on clouds. They name it Fuzzy. But the tension between them is thicker than the atmosphere. Steve tries to apologize for what happened on Farda, for losing himself to the drugs, for nearly abandoning the mission. Sebly shuts him down. The trust is broken. She wants nothing more than to finish the mission and move on. As they push deeper into the plush jungle, their comms begin to fail. Steve's voice cuts out in static. Sable finds herself alone, surrounded by identical golden trees that all look the same. Then a faint signal comes through. Steve has found a cave. He lights a signal fire and tells her to follow the smoke. She climbs one of the massive velvety trees and spots the plume. But as night falls, the planet changes. A strange hum fills the air. Then comes the beating of wings. A swarm of enormous bat-like creatures descends. Leathery wings, glowing orange eyes, and talons like hooked knives. They rip into her suit, tearing through its integrity layer by layer. Sable runs, firing blindly, screaming into her comm as the flock hunts her through the glowing, muffled forest. She barely makes it to the cave, collapsing into Steve's arms, her suit scorched and shredded. For a brief moment by the fire, they feel safe. They were wrong. The cave was never empty. It was a nest. Hundreds of the bat creatures erupt from the shadows in a storm of shrieks and claws. Steve and Sable fight back to back, pulse rifles blazing, then knives and burning logs as ammunition runs dry. The creatures are protecting their home, and they show no fear. When the fire begins to die, Steve makes a desperate choice. He forces Sable into a narrow crevasse for safety, then turns alone to face the onslaught. He fights like a man possessed, stabbing, slashing, roaring, until his suit is breached and his strength fails. Sable crawls out at dawn to find him lying motionless on the cave floor, surrounded by charred bodies. No pulse, no breath, just silence and the pale golden light creeping in. Two explorers, one red giant burning overhead, and one left alone on a deceptively soft world that almost claimed them both. Is this the end for Steve? Or will Sable find a way to save her partner? And the last fragile hope of the assist still hidden on another world? Some planets test your body. Others test your soul. What would you do if your only partner fell protecting you on an alien world? Drop your thoughts below. If you want to know what happens next in this deadly journey across the stars, subscribe and hit the bell. The strangest planets are still waiting, and they're getting darker. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world. In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds are so extreme that life itself should be impossible. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. This time, the wormhole delivers Sable and Steve to a dead star known as Homestar. Once a blazing sun, it has long since cooled and darkened, becoming a cold, dense stellar remnant. Against all odds, an advanced civilization made this dead star their home, moving onto its surface after their original planet became uninhabitable. The surface is a harsh, dusty world of perpetual twilight, wrapped in dark clouds and frequent lightning storms. Because of the star's immense gravity, walking on the natural surface is nearly impossible. The only safe paths are wide metallic platforms built by the inhabitants, massive structures that dampen the crushing gravitational pull. Sable and Steve carefully land their lander on one of these shining platforms. The moment they step outside, a warm, dusty wind howls around them. Steve, curious about the surface beyond the platform, steps off the metallic path. Instantly, the star's brutal gravity yanks him downward. He sinks fast, screaming in pain as the immense force pulls him in. Sibyl and Steve fight desperately to drag him back onto the platform, barely saving him from being crushed. As they recover, a hovering vehicle approaches. Out steps a group of the star's inhabitants, the Centaures. These are powerful, muscular beings with 6 strong legs and 2 arms, covered in coarse gray hair. They are a highly advanced mining civilization that extracts rare resources from the dead star's core. At first, the Centaures seem willing to help. They guide Sibyl and Steve through a portal into their impressive city built directly on the star's surface. Towering metallic structures rise around them, glowing with artificial lights against the dark sky. But the welcome does not last. The Centaures are fiercely protective of their world and do not tolerate outsiders. Without warning, they turn hostile. A large group of the 6-legged giants chases Sibyl and Steve back toward their lander, weapons raised, demanding they leave immediately and never return. The explorers barely escape with their lives as the Centaures pursue them across the metallic platforms. Back at the station, General Rice is informed that Homestar is now classified as a hostile world. A dead star inhabited by an advanced, unwelcoming civilization that wants nothing to do with visitors. Homestar stands as one of the most extraordinary discoveries yet. A cooled star turned into a thriving mining civilization, where every step outside specially built platforms can be fatal, and where powerful, 6-legged inhabitants guard their home with absolute determination. Some stars die, others become homes for those strong enough to survive them. What would you do if you landed on a dead star only to be chased off by its muscular, 6-legged inhabitants? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you want to know what happens next with Sibyl, Steve, and the last eggs of the Assist, subscribe and hit the bell. The universe is full of surprises. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. After their narrow escape from the exploding planet of the Hoppers, Sibyl and Steve emerge from the wormhole near a breathtaking world encircled by hundreds of shimmering moons. This is planet Muna, a lush, mysterious planet bathed in the soft glow of its 1,000 moons. From orbit, it looks like a jewel wrapped in emerald jungles, golden grasslands, and scattered acacia-like trees under a sky that never truly goes dark. The multiple moons create ever-shifting tides of light, painting the landscape in hues of silver, rose, and deep violet. It is one of the most visually stunning planets they have ever visited. They land in a dense jungle clearing to gather samples. The air is thick with the scent of exotic flowers and damp earth. Towering trees with broad, false banana-like leaves stretch toward the sky, their canopies alive with rustling sounds. Strange calls echo through the branches, some melodic, others sharp and warning. But beauty here comes with risk. Soon after stepping out, Steve begins feeling strange. At first, it's just fatigue, then dizziness, followed by fever and disorientation. He has contracted a severe case of Munacy, a local planetary illness caused by microscopic spores released by the jungle vegetation under the intense moonlight. His nanosuit struggles to fight it off. His vision blurs, and he grows weaker with every step. As they search for shelter, a young man named Yompan descends silently from the trees. Tall, with reddish skin and long, dark hair, wearing little more than shorts, Yompan is one of the Aymara, the tree people of Muna. At first cautious of the unclean spirits from another world, he softens when he sees Steve's worsening condition. Yompan explains that Munacy is common among outsiders and potentially fatal if untreated. The only reliable cure is fresh milk from the giant elk, massive, graceful mammals that roam the grasslands. Without hesitation, Yompan agrees to guide them. They begin a long journey under the 1,000 moons of Muna. The planet's environment is as unpredictable as it is beautiful. Rain falls in strange, localized patches, sometimes pouring on one side of a tree while the other stays bone dry. The grasslands stretch endlessly, dotted with acacia trees and tall golden grass that sometimes reaches shoulder height. At night, the multiple moons create an ethereal silver glow, turning the landscape into a living dream. Yompan leads them first to his aerial village, a stunning community of tree houses built high among the branches using wood, bark, and palm thatch. Some homes sit so high they sway gently with the wind. The Aymara people live lightly on the land, moving through the canopy with incredible agility, using ropes and natural pathways. They offer Sibyl and Steve food, antelope eggs that taste surprisingly like soft meat, and fresh coconut milk drunk straight from the shell. But Steve's condition worsens. Yompan and his father Gulskap decide they must press on toward the grasslands to find a giant elk herd. The journey is arduous. They hunt for food along the way, carefully stalking antelopes and gathering eggs. Steve grows delirious at times, forcing them to slow down and rest under makeshift shelters of giant leaves. During one dramatic moment, they encounter a woman named Reykik, trapped in a tree by an enraged great white buffalo, a massive silver-furred beast. Yompan fearlessly distracts and drives the buffalo away, saving her life. This act creates tension with his father, who must later perform a ritual cleansing because Yompan touched an outsider. Finally, they reach a herd of giant elk. These majestic creatures stand taller than elephants, with sweeping antlers that glow faintly under moonlight. Yompan carefully milks one of the females. Steve drinks the warm, slightly sweet milk and almost immediately begins to recover. Color returns to his face. The fever breaks. Munacy is defeated. For a brief moment, there is relief under the 1,000 moons. Then danger returns. A familiar disc-shaped ship descends from the sky. It is Merga, the paranoid, self-proclaimed ruler of the universe, the golden-skinned Tivlon with the wide head and pointed chin. Still furious from their previous escape, Merga arrives with armed drones, determined to capture Sibyl and Steve and sell them as exotic specimens to collectors. Chaos erupts. Yompan, despite his people's fear of outsiders, chooses to help. He leads Sibyl and Steve through hidden forest paths and canopy routes, using his knowledge of the land to evade Merga's forces. Reykik joins the effort, guiding them toward one of Muna's mysterious gates, a shimmering pond-like portal that is not water, but a lighter, ethereal substance capable of transporting travelers across vast distances. As Merga's ship hovers overhead and his robot enforcers close in, Sebele, Steve, and Yompan reach the gate. They plunge into the strange, shimmering pool. The liquid envelops them without wetting their suits, and in a flash, they are transported far from danger. They emerge safely elsewhere on Muna, quickly making their way back to the lander. With Steve now fully recovered, they blast off into orbit, just as Merga's forces realize they've been tricked once again. Back at the station, General Rice receives another extraordinary report. A planet of 1,000 moons, tree-dwelling people, miraculous cures from giant elk milk, and yet another narrow escape from the delusional Merga. Planet Muna now stands as one of the most enchanting and complex worlds in their journey. A place where beauty and danger walk hand in hand, where ancient traditions clash with visitors from the stars, and where even a simple illness can become a life-or-death adventure under an endless sky of moons. Some planets heal you. Others test how far you're willing to go to survive in. What would you do if you landed on a world with hundreds of moons and had to drink milk from a giant elk to survive? Would you trust the local tree people to guide you through the jungle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. In the vast theater of the cosmos, some worlds don't just test your body, they devour your mind and mirror your soul. Welcome back to Strangest Planets. After their chaotic escape from the 1,000 moons of Muna, The wormhole tears open once more and hurls Sibyl and Steve into a realm that defies every law of existence. They call it the Echo Dominion, a fractured, nightmarish reflection of reality where nothing is truly original. The moment they step onto the surface, the air feels wrong. A constant, low, discordant hum vibrates through their bones like feedback from a dying speaker. The sky ripples in sickly shades of violet and bruised silver. The city before them looks eerily familiar. Twisted versions of Earth cities, with towers leaning at impossible angles, streets that stretch too far and then fold back into themselves. Glass facades shimmer like water, reflecting scenes that haven't happened yet, or already did in another life. This is no ordinary planet. The Echo Dominion is alive with entities that have no form of their own. They are echoes, parasitic copies that latch onto any living thing they touch, stealing shape, memory, and identity. The longer you stay, the more they feed. At first, everything seems deserted. Then the echoes begin to appear. Steve sees his own shadow detach from the ground and rise. It stands taller than him, eyes hollow, mouth dripping with black tar, whispering his deepest regrets in his own voice. Sibyl's horror is far worse. Because of her growing telepathic abilities, the gift she gained after the Augard, the Dominion hits her like a storm. Every echo bombards her mind at once. She hears not just thoughts, but corrupted, amplified versions of them. Her own fears scream back at her in 1,000 overlapping voices. She sees twisted versions of Steve, one abandoning her on Farda, another blaming her for Schneck's death on Slushy. She sees General Race laughing as the assist eggs are destroyed. Worst of all, she sees herself, a monstrous echo with glowing eyes and claws, tearing through the memories of everyone she's ever met, feeding on their secrets. "Sibyl! Stay with me!" Steve shouts, grabbing her arm as she staggers. But the Dominion is already adapting. A powerful echo materializes before them. A towering, nightmarish version of a past enemy, broad-shouldered and bald, with bulging eyes and claws that scrape sparks from the warped pavement. It speaks in a voice played backward, distorted and full of malice. The echoes don't just copy bodies. They rewrite reality itself. Streets shift, gravity flickers, memories become physical threats. Sibyl collapses to her knees as wave after wave of false memories assault her. Moments where she failed Steve, where she let the assist eggs die, where she betrayed humanity to Mirga. Her telepathy, normally a gift, has become a curse here. She cannot shut it off. Every echo uses her own ability against her, flooding her mind until she can barely tell what is real. Steve fights desperately to protect her. He drags her through the rippling streets as echoes of their past missions swarm around them. Monstrous versions of Schnecks, of Yompan, even of the gentle bunny-like aliens from the tunnels. They claw at their suits, whispering failures, regrets, and fears. In a moment of clarity, Sibyl remembers something from one of their earlier missions. A small, folded piece of paper from a child they once encountered on a distant world. A simple drawing of a glowing door. She clutches it tightly, focusing every ounce of her will on it. As the echoes close in and the Hiroto-like monster lunges with razor claws, Sibyl tears the paper straight down the middle. Reality screams. A jagged fissure of brilliant light splits the air. The Dominion convulses. The echoes shriek in fury, their stolen forms unraveling like smoke in a hurricane. The monstrous versions of themselves dissolve as Sibyl and Steve hurl themselves through the tear. They collapse back onto the floor of their lander, gasping. The hum is gone. The air is clean, but both of them are shaking. Sibyl sits in silence for a long moment, staring at the torn paper in her hands. Her voice is barely a whisper. "They knew everything, Steve. Every fear, every doubt. And because I can hear thoughts, they used mine against me the hardest." Steve places a hand on her shoulder. For the first time, he truly understands how heavy her gift has become. Back at the station, General Rise receives their report with narrowed eyes. Another world added to the forbidden list. The Echo Dominion. A place where your own mind can become your deadliest enemy, and where echoes wait patiently for new minds to copy and corrupt. The Echo Dominion remains one of the most psychologically terrifying planets in their journey, a realm that doesn't just show you your darkness, it makes you live inside it. Some planets break the body, others break the soul. This has been Strangest Planets. See you on the next world.